There's battle lines being drawn.
All right, episode 2 of Battle Lines. We'll see if that little piece of Buffalo Springfield's will what it's worth, will be enough to get me taken down. I don't know. I don't know how good the algorithms are on podcasts, or if anyone's checking this. I'm sure there's some sort of AI system going on for copyright violation, but we'll see. Anyways, yeah, Battle Lines 2, second podcast in 1 week. If anyone has been following my history with podcasts, which I doubt anyone has, I've started about five or six. Usually get about anywhere from 7 to 13 episodes in before I go, what's the point of anything? You know, not just like having a podcast, like what's really the point of life or living or doing anything or trying anything at all? You know, this is a very weird time to live in. You know, I don't think that's too crazy of a statement, but it is, right? Because everyone wants to be a content creator, and not even everyone wants to be. It's kind of like everyone has to be. Sometimes, well, I guess not everyone. I guess most people just have jobs where you just go and someone pays you to do it and then you leave. And your job isn't dependent on, you know, getting people to pay attention to you online. But increasingly, that is more and more people are in the content attention economy. I also just learned that apparently ChatGPT says increasingly a lot. I was reading this article today on how to spot ChatGPT, or not just ChatGPT, LLM writing, and apparently increasingly is one of the signs. Increasingly, and a lot of multisyllabic words, I think it said. Polysyllabic. I don't know what the difference between multisyllabic and polysyllabic is, or even if those are both words. But apparently increasingly is one of the big signs. And so that's not going to happen anymore, because one of the things the article said was that ChatGPT and LLMs are getting better at learning how to not write like ChatGPT and LLMs. They don't use M dashes anymore. People used to see M dashes and be like, oh, ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT was like, oh no, we're using too many M dashes. So they got rid of the M dashes. So now if you want to sound like a human, use M dashes. Or get ChatGPT to write something, throw a few M dashes in it, and be like, actually, M dashes are now a sign of human writing because AI doesn't do it anymore. Anyways, yeah, what I was saying is I start a lot of podcasts and then quit them because, you know, content creation really is a battle into your own soul, you know? And it's weird. I've gotten slightly better, you know. I've figured out a bit of not really a formula, you know, just making reels, getting some reels to go a little bit viral, you know? And the first time I had one hit 1 million views, I was like, my life is going to change. It doesn't. You basically, if you wanted to change it all, have to continuously put out million view reels all the time. I was watching an episode of Nathan For You the other day, and he had a news story go viral on YouTube. And this was from, I think, maybe the first season of Nathan For You. And he manufactured a story where he built like an underwater ramp where he got like a pig to save a duck or something. It's very funny. And they show the YouTube views, and it was like 200,000. And that used to be like 200,000 views. Used to be like, whoa, that's a big story. Now 200,000 views means nothing. And having a million followers is like the new benchmark on social media for like 1 million followers. Okay, now you're officially a content creator. But I see so many accounts with like 50,000 followers. I'm like, is this person making any money from this? I don't know. I recently got my first paycheck from Facebook, $142, because I had a reel, basically one reel with Charles Haycock that from a movie I was directing, and I'm still editing. Filmed it in 2022, still editing it, because that's the kind of guy I am. Big procrastinator. Filmed it, we shot it, I tried to edit it as a horror, I wrote it as a comedy, and then we edited it as like a horror. Me and my brother were editing it, and sort of took out some of the comedic elements to try to make it more believable. And I think that was a wrong turn we took. And so now I'm re-editing it, trying to make it into a comedy. And really what I'm doing is just, I'm just talking. But again, what I said, I'm not going to do. As soon as I start doing meta commentary on my own podcast, that's when things really take a dive. You just got to stay in the present moment, baby. You just got to realize that whoever's listening to this, they are sweeping or in a car or something else, that's when I listen to podcasts, I love them. I listen to so many, and I always go, what is this person even saying? And like a lot of times I'll feel like, oh, I should really put some information in here. But then when I listen to podcasts with a lot of information, I can't listen to it. I realize like the part of my brain that listens to podcasts can only stay on top of like one topic for about 12 seconds. As soon as people start doing like information dense stuff, it's not that I tune out. It's just like, I can't follow it. But anyways, so yeah, I've started about 6 or 7 podcasts, and then get to episode 12, go, what's the point about anything? And then I stopped doing it. And, I'm really trying to embrace a different philosophy with podcasts and writing this time, where I'm doing it for me. This is all just for me. I don't even care about the listener, which you might be thinking, hey, yeah, I've been listening for 6.5 minutes now. I can tell. Again, not doing meta commentary. All right, so I just finished writing this Substack. The Substack is called Battle Lines, podcast Battle Lines 1, which it was going to be called Battle Lines, and then I recorded the first episode, and I wrote Battle Lines 1 to mean the first one. And then I really liked the way Battle Lines 1 looked on my car, like the car radio or music player or whatever, the digital player. And I was like, Battle Lines 1, that looks cool. And then also it, I think, reduces the intelligibility of what Battle Lines is supposed to mean. Because I think people would be like, oh, Battle Lines, oh, is it a podcast about like military history? And it's like, no, it's a podcast about mostly nothing. What up, Seinfeld? But Battle Lines 1, now it looks like a mixtape or whatever. And also the cover art is just a bunch of lines, which I think as ChatGPT and AI becomes more and more dominant, I think there's going to be a style of art and music that is really going to come back, where it's like it is so simple that it would only make sense for a human to do it, right? Like if you look at, this is the philosophy behind my podcast art. I made it in Adobe Express, and that's all me, baby. I made it myself. It's just, you can see it if you're listening to this right now. It's like 7 lines or whatever. But I think just people making stuff where it's like literally just like a handmade drawing or something. I think ChatGPT could have, I was having this conversation with a bunch of comedians the other day talking about show posters being made by AI, and I get physically repulsed by seeing that now. Like those show posters where it's like so obviously, AI has such a distinctive style, which you can, if you make the prompt complicated enough, you can sort of veer it away from something that's obviously ChatGPT. They are getting pretty good at stuff. I've messed around with it. I have, loose ethics where I'll be like, you know what? I'll use, unconscionable amount of water and power or whatever to make a shitty image for no reason. Or like just test stuff out. And you can, if you give it specific enough directions, but you basically have to be like, make it look like definitely AI didn't make it look, and and then there's ethical considerations or whatever about lying about your use of AI. But yeah, no, now when I see a comedy show poster where it's just got that same very distinctive AI style, especially with the text, they often do this, like the block letters are kind of the same. They'll have like this weird faded lines, faded sort of like type of, I don't know. You guys know what I'm talking about. I don't have to explain AI images to you. You're on the internet, you're listening to this podcast, you know what I'm talking about. And it's disgusting. It is just truly, all ethical considerations aside, just from a pure aesthetic point, I fucking hate it. It's garbage. It is trash. It's the worst. So I think there's gonna be like a resurgence of just like doodles or some shit where it's like, why would you? It would be easier for someone to make this than to get AI to do it. So why would you even bother? Or just stuff where it's like, very real. I think ChatGPT is gonna probably inspire a new wave of real art. Maybe bands will come back, instead of having a team of Swedish people in a lab making music for beautiful pop stars that were, taken advantage of by music producers in more ways than one, financially and probably sexually. I think just real motherfuckers doing real shit is going to come back. That's what I think. That's my prediction. So, yeah, I just finished writing a Substack on the use of facial recognition technology in the new Spider-Man, which it's so quick. It's like blink and you might not catch it. I mean, it's there. It's very obviously there. But there's a point in the new Spider-Man movie where Spider-Man is looking for Scorpion, and he tells the police chief, he's on the phone call with the police chief, he's like, yeah, I have every camera in New York City running a facial recognition scan to try to find Scorpion. So I'll find him if he pops up. And then the police chief says, that sounds really illegal. I'm going to forget I heard that. And then Spider-Man laughs and goes, haha, probably for the best. And that's insane. And I don't know. I did Google, did the Department of Defense fund Spider-Man? And they said it didn't, but they did say they had military advisors to make sure that the, tactical scenes were accurate, which that sounds like total bullshit to me. I think it's pretty obvious that someone in some government agency, there was no reason for it to be there. Because when he does find Scorpion is I forget what he's doing, but he's robbing a bank or something. I don't think he's robbing a bank, but he's in the middle of the street fucking shit up. And so I said this in the article, you could have done the same thing with a Google alert Spider-Man. He wasn't hiding. It's not like he was Luigi Mangione, popping up in a McDonald's or whatever, where obviously he's trying to stay hidden. He's in his full Scorpion suit in New York City breaking stuff. You did not need the facial recognition technology. And then it's used again later to catch the main villain, which I will not give out because honestly, I can't see anyone caring about Spider-Man spoilers at this point who hasn't already seen Spider-Man, which I saw it twice. I saw it again with my cousin last night. Probably wouldn't have gone if it wasn't my cousin wanting to see it again. I liked it. It was a good movie. Liked it again the second time. But I did notice the facial recognition stuff a lot. So, and then the second time when the facial recognition tech picks up the villain, who I won't say, but you probably know who it is, again, she is destroying a building. She is fucking shit up in a very significant way where there would be multiple alerts and alarms, and Spider-Man could have easily found out about that way. And so it just makes the placement of Spider-Man using mass surveillance facial recognition technology so obvious and so it's so obviously propaganda. I don't know who's funding it or what. I looked into it, a cursory research online, didn't say anything, but it's so obvious, oh yeah, mass surveillance is good because Spider-Man uses it, And yeah, I'm not the only one, but a lot of people draw the parallel to this and The Dark Knight, where Batman does the same thing. He turns everyone's phone into a surveillance system, basically, to try to find the Joker. But in The Dark Knight, people weren't used to the idea of a mass surveillance state yet. And so The Dark Knight, he's like, oh man, this is really bad what I'm doing. And Morgan Freeman is like, yeah, Spider-Man or Batman, this is really bad what you're doing. That's not what Morgan Freeman sounds like, but he's like, Batman? No, that's Bane. I'm going to try to do a Morgan Freeman voice. Oh. What's the guy's name? Just give me a second. I want to say Jerry Maguire, but it's not. Oh yeah, Andy Dufresne crawled through a mile of shit. Andy Dufresne. I'm so fucking bad at impressions. I love comedians who do impressions. When I was first coming up, there was this weird Impressions were hack for some reason in stand-up comedy. People like, because there was a very hack type of impression, and you saw it so often in comedy, and you don't see it now anymore. And I personally always loved it, but it would just be a comedian doing an impression without a joke on top of it. You know, like when you see Shane Gillis do, who I think is very good at impressions, he'll do a Trump impression, but then using the Trump impression, there'll be a joke built into it. But there was a type of comedian who, you know, in the 90s and 2000s, who would just be like, what if Arnold Schwarzenegger bought a loaf of bread? And it would just be like, so bad. Give me the bread or whatever. I'm so bad at them. It's so embarrassing. I wish I was so much better. And I'm just always impressed. Maybe it's because I'm so bad at them, but I'm so impressed by people who can do impressions. And I wish they would come back because I love it. I'm like a dumb little kid clapping when someone jingles the keys when I see impressions. Anyways, so yeah, in The Dark Knight, you know, Batman builds a mass surveillance system, and then Lucius Fox is like, you shouldn't do this. I'm Morgan Freeman. And Batman's like, I know. That's why I'm giving you the power to destroy it. And when you look at Batman and Spider-Man Brand New Day, or The Dark Knight and Spider-Man Brand New Day, it just, you know, it seems so obviously like the State Department and the people who are in control of propaganda. Like, it just seems so obvious when you take those two movies together. When it's like 2008, we're getting used to the idea of, you know, mass surveillance, and Batman even does it through everyone's phones. And like, this is the thing with conspiracy theorists. They always think everything's a fucking conspiracy. And so I have no proof that this was a blatant conspiracy. But when you look at the money that goes into these movies, and when you look at how much the CIA funds everything or whatever, I use the CIA basically interchangeably with, you know, deep state propaganda or whatever. And deep state, there's so many government bodies, especially in the United States, Department of Defense, like they're all doing fucking sketchy shit. And again, maybe that's going to be my next Substack, is I'm actually going to try to look at and come up with some real examples so I can tell people about what those are, of how the governments in the West actively try to manipulate everyone, and they use advanced psychological techniques to do so. They've been studying stuff since like the fucking 70s about how to manufacture consensus, and basically the only thing you need to make people do is make them feel like any opinion they might have that might make people not like them is really dangerous, and you shouldn't have that, and just have the opinion that everyone says you're supposed to have. And haven't looked into this, but I saw this briefly online that the Canadian government was openly using that during COVID, was exercising like, you know, mass psychological techniques to see how much they could get people to go along with whatever. Anyways, so, and again, this is why when I'll read shit and then I'll be like, I know that now. And then I go to tell someone and I realize I don't know anything. And I think that's where kind of everybody is right now, more and more. You know, we just see stuff and I go, oh, I know that now. But I think our brain is like, well, that's on my phone, so why would I need to know it? Whereas before, maybe you'd read something and it sticks with you a bit more. I don't know. I think maybe books. I'm reading a book about Ulysses S. Grant right now. Well, I have been reading it. I looked at my reading time because I'm reading it on Libby, the library app on my iPad, which I got fucking called out for the other day at a comedy show for reading a book on an iPad. I was talking about how I was, I did a joke about being an alcoholic or whatever, and saying that, sorry, that's my chair creaking, probably not the greatest sound. I was saying how, you know, I'm in my 30s now, but alcohol, one of the things they say in recovery is that you get stuck at the age you start drinking at or using drugs. And so I said, even though I'm in my 30s, in a lot of ways, I still feel like a 17-year-old. And then the punchline, which I don't believe, is, I go, so in a lot of ways, I am like, I'm stuck in these loops, and I very much am like sort of a mentally and emotionally 17-year-old. And I go, again, punchline, I don't believe it. So what I'm saying is, if there's any 17-year-old girls here, ha 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 ha. But then I tried an addendum to the joke, which did not work. We'll probably never do again, where I was just talking about how emotionally immature I am. And I said, I hate bedtime. Every night I fall asleep the same way, by reading my iPad until it literally hits me in the face, like reading a book about Civil War until my iPad hits me in the face. And then this guy who was like, I think 30, he was like, or no, he said he was 32. I asked him his age. He said, oh, you are old. iPad. Apparently iPads are UNC-coded now, I guess, which I only use my iPad to read. And I do maintain that it's the best thing to read on, because I have it in dark mode, so you don't need the light on. So as soon as you're done reading, you can just take it off, right? So it's dark. Anyways, still defensive about that, I guess. What was I saying about... Yeah, so reading this book about Ulysses S. Grant. Okay, and I do retain that information a bit more, but even then, I'll try to tell people about what I've been reading about Ulysses S. Grant, and I go, I really don't know that much. I don't know if it's my brain. Maybe some other people are better at this. Maybe just passively reading shit doesn't get you that far. I'll give you guys a brief synopsis as an exercise on Ulysses S. Grant. Yeah, I was reading this book for I've been reading it for over 24 hours, like combined, because it's 1,900 pages. If you buy it at the bookstore, it's like fucking this massive, it's like 3 inches tall and like tiny print. So that you have to read on an iPad. It's so much better. So fuck you, 32-year-old. Anyways, so I was reading it. Okay, so Ulysses S. Grant, raised with his dad was kind of a huckster, but his mom was like super into like integrity and honor, raised him in the church, and was very withholding, but taught him to have good morals. Ulysses S. Grant was very like stalwart, and I think I know what that word means, but very like upright, grew to really believe in honor, really believe in dignity and honor and doing the right thing, so much that he was constantly getting swindled by charlatans, because he believed in honor so much that he wasn't able to perceive when other people didn't. And so that was a problem throughout his life, and later on really in the presidency. And so super cool guy, he was recognized as being very smart as a young man, went to West Point, I think at 15. I think back in the day you went to West Point to become, to get officer training or whatever at a younger age. And then went to the military and was an alcoholic, but he was an alcoholic in the way I was an alcoholic, right? People give so much Ulysses Grant, they have this idea, oh, he was a huge drunk, which he was, but it was like he drank way less than most people. It was just when he did drink, he would get shit-faced, which is why I love him. I love Ulysses Grant. I think I've immediately felt a kinship to Ulysses S. Grant, because he also just sort of like his life was a complete failure until he was 38 years old. So he went to West Point, joined the army, was recognized as being like a great soldier in the Mexico War, and then was stationed up in like, I think Pennsylvania, and then got fired from the military, was forced to resign because he would get drunk and be like get sloppy drunk. And then his commanding officer said, if you get sloppy drunk one more time, you got to resign. And he did. And so then he went and became a farmer, I think in Galena, Illinois or Ohio or some shit. Illinois or Ohio, one of those places. And was a farmer, but he was just constantly like, he fucking had bad luck. His crops would get ruined and shit, and was sort of, just kind of a fuck up until the Civil War happened. They needed all the generals they could get. He went back to the army, or not general. He didn't start as a general, but he was a whatever. I don't know the fucking military rankings, officer, I guess. He wasn't a soldier, basically a soldier. He rose super quickly because he was a fucking badass. And in war, he was like one of these guys who was a relatively anxious person in regular life, but in like survival situations in battle, he became super cool, like super calm under pressure. There was this one story about during the Mexico War when like they were pinned down, him and his commanding officer and whatever battalion, again, I don't know fucking army terms, were pinned down fighting the Mexicans in a battle he didn't even think it was just, because he thought that America was unfairly trying to usurp Mexican territory. But he was like, well, I'm in the military, you gotta do what the fucking military says. And so they were pinned down and they needed to get more ammo. They're running out of ammo, and his commanding officer, whatever position he was, knew that it was like fucking a dangerous mission to go get the ammo. So he didn't even tell anyone to do it. He asked for a volunteer. He's like, whoever's doing it is probably gonna get fucking killed. They're like up against a machine gun. I don't know if machine guns are even a thing. This is what I was saying. I don't retain a lot of information. But bad situation, pinned down, Mexicans shooting at him, right? And so Grant volunteers, and he was also incredibly gifted with a gifted rider of horses. He related to animals. Again, another reason I fucking love the dude. Loved horses. I love horses too. I don't have much experience with them. I don't have horse money, but I love animals. I think most animals are better than most people. Pro people, I think, fuck you. You fucking suck. Animals are better. Anyways. And so he rode on the side of a horse, like with one arm around the neck, completely on the side. So the horse was so even if he did get shot, it would only hit the horse. Which again, you say he loves horses. Well, that's what a military horse is supposed to do. I'm sorry, fucking horses get shot in battles back then. Anyways, came back, got the ammo. Super cool dude, right? And like throughout the war, you know, fucking bullets could be firing off around him and he wouldn't get rattled. He was just super calm under pressure, and that kind of pressure. He didn't like making speeches. He was uncomfortable in social situations, but was super calm in emergency situations or survival situations, all this type of shit. And then, brief synopsis, fucking rose up the ranks really quickly, and basically realized that every guy he was facing was just as scared of him as he was of them, and would constantly make decisive battle moves. He would, like, a lot of generals back then were afraid to go on the attack, right? Because you got to put your fucking army in danger. And they would, like, you know, even if they won a battle, they would stop there instead of pursuing the enemy. But Grant was always like, no, let's fucking go. And also his men respected him because anything he asked them to do, he would fucking do himself. He would, like, if he was asking them to, like, build whatever defenses or whatever, he'd fucking get down off the horse and show them how to do it. He never like carried himself with the air of someone who was better than him. He was just a fucking solid dude all around. Anyways, ended up basically winning the war for the North by, at one, I think it was Vicksburg, he laid siege to the town, fucking cut them off, fucking Southerners basically starved to death. And then once the Southerners did give up, he would, like, give them favorable terms of surrender because he was like, you know, he respected the other side, even though those guys were fucking cocksuckers. The South sucks shit, dude. At least Civil War times. All those white honkies, they should have been fucking killed and all their land given to their slaves, because as soon as he did win the war, which, spoiler, the North won, they fucking, like, even when the war started, you know, people say states' rights, all this bullshit. It wasn't specifically about slavery. Emancipation Proclamation had not been issued yet. It was, like, it did start because they're like, all right, no new slaves or whatever. Again, not super good at this point, but solid information. Anyways, this is just Civil War history, which I fucking love, and I want to get into more of. But eventually, Lincoln wrote the Emancipation Proclamation saying all slaves are free, and so that became what the war was about, because that was like a very good, solid justification for have the war. Before, it was kind of about states' rights, but like halfway through the war, they're like, no, this is strictly about slavery, because that gives you a really good reason. Like, we're against slavery, right? People can get behind that, and then. So after the war, all the slaves were freed. allegedly, but in the South, they just fucking started murdering black people willy-nilly, like, and with the full backing of the state. So Ulysses S. Grant had to send in the federal army to these southern states and being like, if you don't fucking protect these black people, we will. And they were the only ones that are doing it. And then like the Ku Klux Klan, that's when they started. And yeah, they were just murdering black people, like fucking chasing them down, murdering them, torturing them, all sorts of terrible shit. South, you guys fucking suck shit. You know, back then at least. Robert A. Lee was a total loser. He, you know, fucking Grant gave favorable terms to all these Southern Confederates because he's like, we need to, now that the war's over, we need to focus on unification. And then those same Southern generals, after the war had been over for a bit, they forgot how generous he was with them and fucking started talking shit or whatever. Although Grant was still generally pretty respected throughout the South. Anyways. And then, you know, he became president after fucking some dumb shit actor. Dude, that has got to be so embarrassing for Lincoln. Can you imagine getting assassinated by a fucking actor, dude? I'm not going to talk too much shit about actors, because a lot of my best friends are actors or whatever. Well, not my best friends. Some of my friends. Some of my close friends are actors. How many close friends do I have? I don't really know. I'm, you know, socially awkward alcoholic. Actually, I'm not even going to say that. Fucking Don Miguel Ruiz or whatever. 4 agreements. Words are power. I am no longer socially awkward. But then listen to a lot of Chase Hughes about how reality doesn't exist. It's only in your mind. NLP, baby. Look it up. Anyways. What's the point of all this? Spider-Man fucking hates you. Yeah, but no, dude, it is such an actor thing to assassinate Lincoln. Dude, you're cosplaying as a revolutionary. You fucked the country up so much. Like, what do you think you're going to do? You're going to assassinate Lincoln and then everything's going to be fine? Honestly, to be fair, they probably did sort of do a lot of good for the Southern cause of being racist pieces of shit because after Lincoln was assassinated, then Andrew Johnson came into power, and Andrew Johnson was a Democrat, which, sorry, Democrats, but at the time, Democrats were the fucking racist pieces of shit. It was the radical Republicans who were against slavery, which is crazy to think like, oh, if you said radical Republican now, you'd be like, oh, they're definitely racist. But back then, radical Republicans were the least racist ones, and Democrats were for the most part being like, we should end the war. Just let the South have slaves, whatever, who cares? And so Andrew Johnson was a Democrat who fucking sucked. He's worst president ever. People give shit Ulysses S. Grant for being a bad president. Fucking Ulysses S. Grant, not nearly as bad as Ulysses S. Johnson. Ulysses S. Grant, whole thing was he was too gullible. And he had a right-hand man, fucking John Rawlins, who was like a fucking gangster OG, super into honor. He trusted Grant, and Grant trusted him. And Rawlins kept him sober. And would, he was constantly like fucking... He was kind of like Ulysses S. Grant girlfriend. Grant would try to get drunk and Rollins would be like, fucking Grant, don't get drunk anymore. You can't get drunk. You fucking suck when you're drinking. And Grant would be like, you're right. I'm right. I'm so sorry. Recognize that dynamic. Hey, Levi? Anyways. So then Rollins fucking died of consumption like his fucking 1800 ass would. And then, so Ulysses S. Grant sort of lost his... Rollins was more sort of savvy and wary of these fucking douchebags who were constantly trying to curry favor with Grant. Grant was sort of susceptible to taking gifts that, a bunch of fucking businessmen came together and bought him, like, I think a few different houses, and then those businessmen would ask for shit. Grant was also super chill about, like, installing friends into high-paying government positions because he was a good guy. Because he was such a good guy, I think he was blind to his own optics of paying back favors, because all throughout his late 20s and 30s, after he got fired from the military, he really had to rely on the assistance of his friends and families because his farm sucked. And so people were good to him, and then later on, he'd be like, yo, fucking, you can be a fucking senator or whatever. Maybe not. I think senator's elected position in the States. But anyway, so then Rollins died, and that's right where I am at right now. I think he's about to get geared up for a big fight with the old Ku Klux Klan. But anyways, that was just an exercise in me trying to retain information so I can actually know a fucking thing. I just want to know a thing. You know, do you guys ever feel like that where you fucking just spend all day on your phone and you have watched a million things and you're like, do I know a thing? Do I know did I learn a fucking thing today? I just wrote this Substack. And yeah. I had to Google a bunch of shit. Like all of Canada's anti-privacy, all those fucking bills that Canada's passing, which, man, if you are a fan of the Carney government, this is another thing. I might have talked about this last time. I probably did. This is like my biggest fucking issue is people who are like, I love Mark Carney. You're a fucking chud. You are so dumb. Because the government and the fucking propaganda department has convinced you that not loving Mark Carney means you love Donald Trump. And that's dumb. That is so dumb. Mark, let me tell you something about everyone who's in a position of power now. They fucking hate you, dude. That's why they're building AI centers. It's so they can completely subjugate you, which brings me back to Spider-Man. There was no reason for Spider-Man to use mass surveillance. He didn't need it. It wasn't necessary. It was just, it's like, I can't prove it, but it seems so fucking, you don't even need to prove it with how obvious it is. It's just like, hey, yeah, let's use mass surveillance to catch a scorpion. Mass surveillance we don't need, and Spider-Man thinks it's cool. And that's what Mark Carney and the fucking liberals are trying to do. It's so obvious with all his anti-government, his whole thing was climate change for the longest time. And another thing about climate change, yeah, real, whatever. Fucking global warming, bad. Oil companies pollution, bad. But all of these fucking governmental bodies who are like, we need to take more and more power so we can fight climate change. They don't fucking give a fuck about climate change. They do not give a shit. If you think that anyone in a serious position of power right now, above mayor, fucking what up, Mamdani? What up, Jeremy Farkas? Love that guy. Fucking Jeremy Farkas is cool as fuck. He responded to me on Twitter. I don't really know his policies. He's the mayor of Calgary. If you're listening to this, not in Calgary, but I love that guy. Anything beyond municipal politics, most likely, maybe a premier or two, or whatever they're fucking called in the state, governor, they don't give a shit. Federal politicians fucking hate you. Tech CEOs fucking hate you. Like, if liking Mark Carney is the same thing as liking Elon Musk, you're a fucking loser for thinking they care about you, you're buying into propaganda. So Mark Carney, his whole thing was like, oh, like for so long it was GFANs, net zero. We got to do everything. Let's fucking build it. We got to give fucking governments and corporations more power. We need to merge them so they can fight fucking climate change with their ESG scores. And their whole thing was like, oh, like Mark Carney's whole thing, the whole thing with the fucking ESG bullshit was, oh, the world is becoming more and more unfair. So we're going to give corporations an ESG rating so we can have a number that shows how fucking fair they are based on diversity, environmental, social governance. And so it's like, oh, if they have a lot of black women and make a lot of fucking donations to climate change initiatives that are run by the fucking Illuminati, then they're a good company. You can trust them. It's dumb. That's dumb. Oh, the people running the world have fucked it up. Okay, well, let's still let the exact same fucking people run the world, but let's give them a number to say how good they are. That's what fucking Mark Carney's whole fucking thing is. If you're so dumb. I just didn't even say people are dumb. Saying dumb is like overrated because at this point it's like, are you dumb for being completely propagandized by a 24/7 media environment where just there's propaganda coming at you at all angles and you don't even know, and Spider-Man's telling you that you should endorse the surveillance state? It's like, how are people supposed to, I'm only able to do this because I'm chronically underemployed. If I had a full-time, job, if I had been like a fucking electrician for the last 20 years instead of like a struggling stand-up comic, working like as a dog walker or a door dasher, and now like AI fucking, I don't even want to tell people I do that because it's ethically dubious, but I do reinforcement learning human feedback for AI. I know that sounds like it was a long pause. It was just me vaping. And yeah. So Mark Carney sucks. Spider-Man's a piece of shit. I honestly love the movie. I fucking love Spider-Man. There's some things just, I don't know. Spider-Man just fucking rules, dude. And I think it's because we can all imagine being Spider-Man. Because as soon as you're Superman, you're like, I can't fly. I'm never gonna fly. And also being able to fly, I feel like after a little while, it would get boring. Because there's no sense of limitation. It would be like being God, right? Like there's no, if you can just fly, gravity means nothing. Whereas Spider-Man can defy gravity while still being constricted within its limits. It's like noise music. Have you ever seen like a art band play music? They usually suck shit because they're like, oh, what if we just fucking make sounds or whatever with no sense of limitation or obedience to musical melodies or whatever, right? They just make sounds. I've seen a few bands like that in Vancouver. I don't even know what you call them bands. They're just making fucking sounds. And you're like, this sucks shit. Whereas like a band that's playing on the verge of that or on the edge of that, more interesting. I don't know. To be honest, I'm not a great... I like... to be honest, I still listen to mostly Midwest emo. I'm not a huge music... Like... I think I have good taste relatively, but music I also think is more personal. I have great taste in movies. I feel I'll fucking stand 10 toes down on that. I know what good movies are. And I can understand why people like bad movies. I'm not a snob. I think if you like a movie, it's good for you. That's fine. I fucking hate people who are like, oh, that movie sucked. You shouldn't like it. Dude, if you like anything, fucking good for you. If you fucking like, whatever, fucking... I don't know, what's a shitty movie? Most movies that have come out in the last 10 years have sucked. But if you like any of them, great. If you like the live action Moana, I haven't seen it. I'm sure it's terrible. But if you like it, good. I'm happy you like stuff, you know? The only time I get mad is when people try to defend these movies as good. Like, Marvel movies are dumb. I like them. I've seen every one except for the Marvels multiple times. Except for the Marvels and... Eternals I watched once, never will watch it again. Chloe Zhao fucking sucks shit. I hate that she won Best Picture for Nomadland. Nomadland sucks. If you like it, you're dumb and I hate you. No, whatever. I honestly, like, Nomadland was such a movie specifically designed for fucking Oscar nominees. Oscar nominators. The Oscar judges. Because it's a movie that was endorsed by fucking Amazon about poverty. They got permission to film at an Amazon fulfillment center. You can't do that without Amazon's fucking explicit approval. They called it Amazon. And then it was about poverty. And Chloe Zhao, this fucking, she's the daughter of a Chinese billionaire steel magnate, trying to make, like, it's the most Nepo baby thing ever, but it happened in, I think, 2019? No, 2019 Parasite won. Oh yeah, it was definitely pandemic. Nomadland won, I think it was 2020 Best Picture, and it sucks dog shit. The whole thing is just, let's film this at fucking golden hour. We'll have Frances McDormand looking out at the ocean at golden hour. We'll have her looking at a parking lot at golden hour. Then we'll make her shit in a bucket so the movie seems like it's about something. The Oscar, like, this is why I have such little respect for... Again, I'm not going to say actors. I'm going to say some actors. Because I have friends who are actors. But so many of them are fucking dumb. And people, they're so far up their own fucking asses that they... And obviously, like... And this is the thing that pisses me off about fucking DEI or whatever. Because, like, I agree with the sentiment of helping minorities. I don't have a problem with helping minority, or, like, you know, whatever. People be like, oh, it should always be based on merit. That doesn't really exist for fucking any job. There's 1,000 people who could do it. If there's historical levels of inequality, I say help someone else, but make it good. You think fucking Chloe Zhao is the only fucking, or Zhao or whatever you pronounce it, is the only fucking Chinese woman who could make a movie? No, the only reason she's able to is because she's a fucking rich kid who, a billionaire kid. I don't even talk rich kids. I wasn't like fucking, I didn't come from the streets of Mumbai or whatever. So I'm not going to fucking shit on rich kids. But she was the daughter of a billionaire. Made the worst dog shit movie of all time. Fucking that, Crash, all these fucking movies that win Best Picture. So many of them suck shit because they're just made for Oscar judges. Nomadland sucks. She should never have gotten Eternals. And Eternals, I think it was clear that that movie sucks. And this is another thing I have with female superhero movies. It always becomes this thing where it's like men don't want to support women. And it's like, no, you let women who are not good at making movies make some fucking movie. Let fucking Sofia Coppola direct a Marvel movie. I'd love to see that, dude. Let the girl who did The Substance, which I also thought was dumb. The Substance was dumb. The Substance, it was just so like, okay, so this woman whose job is looking good doesn't look as good anymore, and so she's getting fired, and that's the pinnacle of sexism. It's like, I'm sorry, but fucking when Russell Crowe got fat, he doesn't get to be the gladiator anymore, you know? Like, if you're an actor, part of your appearance is your job. And an aerobics instructor who gets, like, you've been an aerobics instructor for fucking 20 years. And now, and also every man well, I'm not going to say this. I'm sure there's tons of sexism still in the industry or whatever. But that type of blatant, outright sexism, I feel like the sexism is probably more guarded and coded in the entertainment industry at this point. But yeah, fucking Dennis Quaid or whatever is just like, you fucking tits are gross, and I fucking love this wet shrimp. It's like that. I just don't think that's gonna happen at a restaurant these days. Like, I'm sure the sexism exists, but it's gonna be like it was in Knocked Up, where he's like, we just want you to tighten. We just want you to keep it tight. Like, they're gonna be guarded about what they say. If they fire you for not being hot, they're not gonna come out and say that or whatever. And so, like, if the Substance was about Demi Moore's inability to accept aging, I think it would have been a great movie. But it seemed to be like, at the same time, making a statement about sexism within the industry. And I'm sorry, if your job is looking hot, then yeah, when you're old, you don't look as hot. That's life. That's aging. That's the inevitability of time. And also, the whole fucking, her split personality made no sense, because the old bitch, Demi Moore, would get mad at the young one. And it's like, if you aren't experiencing, if you're two separate consciousnesses, then why, old Demi Moore, are you fucking mad at her? You're the one who still has to take the substance. If you stop taking the substance, you wouldn't be mad at her anymore. You're fucking looking at her and you're getting pissed because you get your fingers falling off. Stop taking the substance. If you're not enjoying that life, you know, and then if it's one consciousness, why are you pissed? You still get to enjoy half the time. It just made no sense. And, but I think she would make a much better Marvel movie than Chloe Zhao. I hope you guys like movies, because this is fucking movie talk, baby. I would love to listen to this podcast, because it would just be, obviously, reaffirming all my own opinions back to me. Fun. But, yeah. Really getting off on a tangent here. The one last thing I was thinking about talking about was alcoholism. A lot of people in my life relapsed recently. Not going to say who. But it just seemed to be a big relapse time. And I think it's going to be our last relapse ever. No one's ever relapsing again. But I was just thinking about this. About how the fucking thing that's so I think people who don't understand alcoholism or whatever, most people don't, but I think like people are trying now, you know, even when I was first, like, you know, coming out as a fucking, you know, alcoholic at like 25 or whatever, it was like, yeah, I keep doing this thing and I don't seem to have a control over it. And you know, people were like, it was very common for people to just be like, oh, that's a lack of willpower, why don't you just drink normally? You know, that was incredibly common back then. And the thing is when you're not drunk, you also think that is the thing. You think like, okay, I know every time that I drank before, I got way too fucking drunk, and as soon as I start drinking, I sort of lose control, because like before I start drinking, I go, okay, just have a few drinks, just fucking chill out, have a few drinks. But then as soon as you start drinking, you're no longer that person. And fucking you with 3 drinks, if you're an alcoholic, is not the same guy who says just fucking chill. As soon as you have 3 drinks, you're like, you know what? Sober me, who said to just have 3, is a fucking pussy, dude. let's fucking ride this motherfucking thing till the wheels fall off. You know what I mean? So that's what you do. But every time, then once you get sober and you've been sober for a few weeks, there's always a part of you that's like, come on. Don't, like, what? Come on. You got this. You can do it. You can, because it is embarrassing. Alcoholism is incredibly embarrassing, right? Because you drink and then you turn into a monster, a sloppy, gross monster. And everyone's like, oh, what's with this sloppy, gross monster? And, like, I was saying this to a friend of mine where it's like, the feeling I get where if I go to an open mic and bomb or just a show and don't do well on that show, I feel like I have to go back and do good on that show before I can just like relax and be, or not, I feel like I have to conquer it. And that's what alcoholism feels like. It's like, I feel like it's something I need to conquer, you know, because there's a part of you where you're like, come on, I can do it. I can drink. Because it's like, I think a lot of people think like, oh, alcoholics is like, oh no, you just want to get fucking blackout and fucking ruin your life. It's like, no, almost every time. Sometimes you're just incredibly depressed and you fully accepted that one drink is going to fucking set off this horrible chain reaction of bad stuff. I've been in that place. Sometimes you drink and you go, you know what? I know nothing's good is going to happen. I know this is bad, but I just feel so uncomfortable and so lonely and so depressed with my life that the only way I can imagine getting relief from this feeling right now is to just drink, even though I know it's going to make bad things happen. That happens. For me, that's much more rare than a relapse being preceded by, I got this. I got it. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. I know that every time I drink, something terrible happens to me, but that was before. And I really just think it is a sort of chemical difference in the way alcoholics process alcohol. I was just reading this fucking, I've been getting back into neuro-linguistic programming, and I was reading this thing by Richard Bandler, who was saying that alcoholism he basically says everything is a trance state. Like, even right now, I'm in a trance state recording a podcast. I'm in podcast state. When you're in the car, you're in driving state. And everything's just like different inputs that you can like control in your brain. And everything has a significance that you give to it. And alcoholics have just gotten to this idea that when you drink, you have to keep drinking. Which, it's a very seductive theory for an alcoholic, because you go, oh, okay, I should just hypnotize myself into not doing that. And I actually went and got hypnotherapy for alcoholism. And I talked to the hypnotherapist, and he said, what do you want? And I was like, well, I need to quit drinking. He's like, well, do you need to quit drinking, or do you just want to control your drinking? And I was like, well, obviously I would like to keep drinking and control it. And he was like, okay, well, let's work on that then. So I was like, okay. And so we did hypnotherapy for that. And then I didn't get blackout drunk while I was doing hypnotherapy for a little while. I would just get like to the verge of blackout, where I was like shit-faced, but not blacking out until I think that lasted for like 2 months, and then I got blackout again. Because I mean, I don't know. I do think there's a different way the way alcoholics process alcohol. I've read this book called Under the Influence, about how if you're an alcoholic, the way your liver breaks down alcohol, it interrupts it basically breaks down into acetaldehyde, or the hydrogenase in your liver breaks down into acetaldehyde, and it creates a different chemical that penetrates the blood-brain barrier, creating a feeling of euphoria, but at the same time anxiety. And that's what it feels like as soon as I start drinking. As soon as I start drinking, I'm like, I feel better than I've ever felt, and also terrible. I need to keep drinking, because it's this anxious euphoria. And I'm like, if I don't keep drinking, I'm going to feel really bad. And I see other people drink, and like the NLP thing, I'm like, that seems very tempting to believe that it's just in my head. But I really don't think it is. Really feels like a bodily process. And so I am just going to choose to believe that. Because even if it is something I could hypnotize myself out of, don't think I could do it now. And not going to try. So if you've been thinking about that, don't do it. If you're an alcoholic listening to this, just stay sober. Come on. Fucking find something you like to do and just stay sober. Because then I was also listening to this NLP hypnosis track that wasn't about how to drink responsibly, thank God. It was just about how, if you really think about it, if you really think about the times you get drunk, it's maybe 20 minutes of feeling good. And then a lot of just feeling like shit, worrying about the next drink, doing stuff you don't like. It just always feels like like when I get drunk, it's like the thing I'm doing is always enjoyable, but it's always like I got to do something else, you know? It's not like, fucking ecstasy or something where you're just like, oh man, everything's so great and I just love talking to you. When I get drunk, it's like, oh man, I'm gonna fucking call someone, or I'm gonna tell people, and I'm gonna make some food, or I'm gonna do this. And it's like, yeah, I'm happy while I'm doing it, but it's always about like the next thing. And like when you get drunk, obviously you fucking get drunk, and then you just gotta keep drinking. You wake up, you feel like shit, you want to kill yourself. Anyways, so yeah, I decided to tell that story because I was reading this little thing on some guy's Instagram where he's talking about if you really want to build a following, you can't like tell them how successful you are. You got to tell them your origin story, like what you overcame, because that's what people actually relate to. Yeah, like they want to see where you were in the shit and now you're not out of that. So anyways, I think you're going to cap it there. 55 minutes, 25 more minutes than last time. And again, if you're listening to this, cool. Even if no one's listening to this, that doesn't matter because I'm doing this for myself. And if you are listening to this, you should do something for yourself and no longer let the numbers of the algorithm define what your creativity should be. Because I have a tendency to do that. I'll make something and then I'll be like, oh, how much fucking numbers did I get? And then I'll go, what would really do numbers? Instead of making something that I really enjoy, And as soon as you let numbers are fucking stupid. Don't believe them. Statistics are all lies. It's another thing I fucking hate about the liberal government. They're so good at manufacturing statistics. You should all follow this guy, Stephen Poonwasi, on Twitter, who breaks down how different statistics are made by the liberal government, going like, yeah, these are essentially all complete lies. Not to be all Mark Twain, but there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. Like one of them was saying that violent crime has been decreasing recently, which the only level of violent crime that has been decreasing really is like premeditated murder or something. And because that's weighted so high statistically, it's like every just random assault, like one premeditated murder is the same as like 50 just random assaults or something like that. That's obviously not the exact numbers, but on like the crime statistics level. So as long as premeditated murder is going down, general violent crime could be increasing, which it is in Canada, because there's a fucking affordability crisis and everyone's going insane and all this stuff. But there's still these statistics to be like, oh, crime's actually going down. And it's just like, that's always what the liberals are doing. They're so good at manufacturing bullshit, brand control. Like, even if you watch videos from the House of Commons, if you watch like a 5-minute video, you'll be like, oh, Carney is not answering the fucking direct question being asked of him right now, because the question they're being forced to answer is a question that will inherently make the liberals look so fucking bad. But instead, Carney will just be like, we are delivering the strongest economy Canadians ever see. And then they'll clip that and fucking post that. And then fucking dumbasses will be like, oh, Carney's good. I'm sorry, but if you think you're a left-wing person and you support Mark Carney, you're a dumbass. Again, not a dumbass, I saw it. You're being manipulated. You're being manipulated. This is what so many Canadians are stuck in fucking 2008 Obama-era policies. Where it's like, oh, Obama's the greatest. He's fucking, I love liberals. And it's like, yeah, well, he also killed thousands and thousands of unarmed women and children at weddings. So, is he good? He also told everyone to drink the water in Flint. He was a fucking corporate sellout. Every liberal politician is a corporate sellout ever since fucking NAFTA was first negotiated. It's all just this gradual erosion of doing anything for the people. It's just like, oh, we need to increase the GDP. It's like, oh, is that going to make people better off in the economy? No, it just juices the fucking GDP. But we've all become fucking... We are all vassal states. Every individual is a vassal state of the fucking government where we're just... I don't know. I guess vote NDP. I would love to see the NDP drop the identity politics bullshit, because let's be honest, it's ridiculous. And again, you say identity politics and that becomes so right-wing coded, but it's like, okay, there's a massive inequality, booming surge of inequality, and the NDP is being like, oh, let's have equity cards. If you're a white man, back to the line. And it's just like, dude, shut up. Like, I don't even think, whatever. Who cares what that is actually doing or whatever, you want to be diverse, go for it. That's totally cool. But it's like, you have to be better at fucking brand control. You have to actually know what the hell you're saying and how it's going to be perceived. And a country that is fucking, you know, like whatever it is, what percentage of white men, and a lot of them who work blue collar jobs and are like, or not even blue collar jobs. We're all getting fucked by the fucking ruling class. We all are. And now you want to say that like, oh, well, don't vote for us if you care about that shit. And then the only party left is the fucking conservative government, because they're the only ones who are not saying, oh, let's not listen to white men. It's just like the NDP is just full of these like university educated idiots who have been completely mind washed by fucking the bullshit neoliberal propaganda for the last 20 years, and they actually believe it, and they go, oh, the way to solve the world is to like fucking punish white men. And it's like, oh my god. Again, it's so hard to talk about this because I could even sound myself sounding like fucking right-wing Republican, but it's like, no, you have been convinced that race is more important than money when it comes to left-wing issues, because the neoliberal agenda was to completely disguise economic issues and make people think that they're doing progress by being like, oh, we're not going to say fucking black people, we're gonna call them people of color, and we're not gonna pay them more, but we are gonna change what we call them, and we're gonna make it so if you say the wrong words, you're a bad person. Meanwhile, the people running everything is stealing from everyone. Anyways, that's an hour. Hope you listen to me talk about bullshit, drink way too much Red Bull today. Peace. Battle Lines episode 2.